Hello, friends. We're back again. I never use that saying when I do this show because this is the most like chill show of my entire week, and I like it. It's Grappy Hour. It's the time where the lights go down low and we hang out in our dingy, divey bars and we have a drink and we talk about wrestling. And nothing's official, but everything is subjective, and I love it. Lillie, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling a lot of things. It's been a busy week. I'm feeling busy and good. How are you feeling, Joel? How are you feeling?
Good. A little overwhelmed, but not super duper overwhelmed. I had a very interesting weekend that included building a crib, so that was fun. Although it started off awful because my partner and I started building the crib, and a nail fell out from the headboard of the crib,
Oh
and
no.
I started like freaking out. I'm like, oh shit, this thing is, it was an anchoring nail. So I was like, something's going to get messed up. And then basically a whole bunch of things got messed up. So we decided we're not going to put it together today. So the next day, which was yesterday, we had my in-laws come in, and the three of us together put it together. And it ended up being pretty good. I was
And no
happy.
nails went into anyone's appendages or anything.
No, that one nail that came out, we were able to put it back in because it had to anchor another piece in place, and we just kind of super glued it back together. It all worked out, but like in the moment, I went from like super anxiety inducing stress to like, oh, okay, it was built and it worked and it looked good and I can't complain. So it's
I'm
good.
excited to see it and I'm happy for you guys. That's huge, 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 huge stuff.
Yeah, it's coming together, and soon enough there will be a little version of myself and my partner. That's very strange to think about. So we're excited, but we're good. It's a nice excuse to continue, enjoying the little things that we get to have together. So I can't complain. I also watched a lot of wrestling, as I always do. I know you also watched a lot of wrestling, as you always do, and you did a little bit more than that. And we'll talk about the other wrestling stuff you got to do this week. But first, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, like I said before we hopped on air yet again today, my drink is a little aggressive. So, as a chaser, I have some freshly squeezed pineapple juice,
Ah,
but I am going to be shooting slash sipping some of my favorite tequila, some Casamigos Reposado.
hey, good stuff.
Hmm.
Where's that from?
It's George Clooney's tequila. It's from Jalisco. Um, yeah, it's quite expensive, but it's worth it. And I'm a huge tequila fan, and I gotta tell you, George Clooney and the farmers and purveyors of his tequila know what they're doing.
Good stuff. Enjoy
And
it. Salute.
it's been a stressful couple of weeks for I think the whole world for different reasons. So
Yep.
a little bit of tequila never hurt anyone.
I went the cider route, as I tend to. It's Summersby. Now, for me this week in wrestling, there was a lot of sweets, um, a lot of strange, and a lot of nostalgia, and just a lot of like, we'll get into it soon, especially with the MJF promo. But there was just a lot going on in wrestling, and I kind of thought to myself, this week in wrestling reminded me of like when I was an 18-year-old kid, and like my friends and I would go, and where I lived in my city where I grew up, there were train tracks behind our house, and it wasn't a busy train track. It was just the Canadian Rail that ran there like once a day type of thing, if that. And so my friends and I would go after that train had long gone, we'd go and sit on those tracks and have a drink. And in the summertime, Summersby would be what we drink. And yeah, that just reminded me of those times. They were good times. They were simple times, and they were kind of strange times. But yeah, got myself a Summersby.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. Let me open this thing by muting myself. So here we go.
That's the smoothest tequila. Like it's smooth when you shoot it back and you don't wince. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just tastes like caramel and just warmness.
Oh, that's good. That's breakfast. All right. So whatever you're drinking in the chat, welcome. We hope you're going to have something with us. Does not have to be alcoholic. It can be as easy as a glass of water. It could be a soda. It could be an orange juice, whatever you want. There you go. It could be pre-workout for all I care. Come and hang out with us. If you want to donate a super chat or a humper chat, you're more than welcome to. It helps support us here at Fightful Overbooked and gets your questions, statement, comments read on the air. We always love to have people chime in with their thoughts whenever we're talking about wrestling, whenever we're talking about life. You all are welcome to do that. Where do you want to start? Because there was so much stuff. We have so much stuff to go through. There's GCW, there's AEW, Revolution's coming up next week. This coming weekend, so there's going to be a huge show there. I know next week we're going to talk about it at length. I'm sure of it. But other than that, I mean, where do you want to start? What's on your mind?
Road to Revolution. Let's do it. Let's start with AEW. I mean, they were in Connecticut this week for a bunch of tapings, and a lot of things happened. Dynamite started off with the tag team title battle royale match, which we can discuss. I thought it was, I mean, it's a scramble, so it's hard to like make it, able to focus on too intently. But I thought it was a good scramble. They had a lot of cool things going on. Santana got his meme moment. We got to look right directly into hard cam. And I have not too much to complain about it, other than I think that it went a little bit long at 18 minutes. I think that other matches could have gone a little bit longer instead of that one.
Yeah, I enjoyed the battle royal for what it was. I'm not huge on starting with a battle royal. I think there's a lot more you can do to get a crowd amped, and maybe the crowd was excited there because they had all the teams come out before they went live on Dynamite. But like for me, I just starting with that doesn't always get me going. Especially when I'm sitting there and I've been thinking for a while, like, oh, it's got to be Red Dragon and the Bucks. That's been the central story. And then they end up giving you pretty much what we've been talking about. That being said, I'm going to be excited to watch Red Dragon compete for tag titles. I thought we'd get there in a different way. It felt a little too straight and narrow for me, but otherwise, a battle royal is okay. As long as they don't overdo it, it's okay.
And it has been a while, so it was kind of nice to see everyone back in the ring. And I mean, overall, not too impressed, but I'm also not mad at it.
Yeah, I just I'm looking forward to seeing how they get to the next set, the next team on Wednesday, how they find out who that is. It sounds like they're just going to run the same teams again, but with a casino battle royal version instead. So they'll have
So what would the difference be?
I guess they'll just call them out hearts, clubs, spades, and aces. And that's the only way I could do it. But yeah, I mean, I see it in the chat. Like Red Dragon versus the Bucks will be great, but we also have to put Jurassic Express in there. And if the whole idea is that Jurassic Express overcomes Red Dragon and the Bucks, then but like that's
where do we
what the
go from
story
there?
is.
Yeah.
Like other than that, you're going to have a Jurassic Express drop titles to the Bucks or Red Dragon so that they can feud over the tag titles. I don't love it.
I could see that happening though. I could see that happening though, because they've been kind of hinting at the Red Dragon storyline for a while, and they've kind of been putting the brakes on Luchasaurus as well. So who knows?
No, it's a good point. I think I expected a little bit more out of the tag team title run for Jurassic Express, and it could continue. It could very much be the match that they cancel each other out. Yeah, like the Bucks and Red Dragon could cancel each other out in that tag match, and then Jurassic Express just has to take advantage and get the pin on one of those two teams, and then Bucks and Red Dragon can have their own little feud, which culminates to a number one contendership, and then it's a one-on-one match between them and whoever the tag title holders are. Maybe it's Jurassic Express, and then you move on from there. I just think there needs to be more.
I just couldn't see Jurassic Express retaining the belt for too much longer, or doing too much at Revolution with everything else that's going on, with so many people that keep getting introduced, with the Bucks kind of fence sitting with what they're going to be doing as well. All this New Japan stuff starting up, is just so much could happen. And either way, I'm kind of in the boat of I don't care, just entertain me right now.
Yes, let me sit back and enjoy the show. And that's the thing, you and I, we're not the pundits who sit here and break down every single show and every single bit of news. I do that on some other shows, but that's not what I do here, because we're here to talk about the entertainment behind it. And I see people asking who will be the Joker team in this casino battle royal. And I did see Jay Shell and Will on Day After Dynamite. I wouldn't even do that. I would just have Top Flight come back. I would have Darius and Dante.
Okay, yeah, but is he cleared already?
It's been almost a year. He's got to be getting closer to, if not already better. I would love to know that Darius Martin is back and ready to compete. It's just
And
a
I'm wondering
question
if
of,
they could do anything with the House of Black with tag teams as well. That could be interesting as well for some storylines, but that also seems too obvious.
well, House of Black gained a new member, right, this week, and they ended up adding
Mm-hmm.
Buddy Matthews to it. I don't know about you. I didn't love it. I
Me
didn't
neither.
love bringing him in this way. It felt like they're kind of shoehorning him in, even though, there was some quote unquote lore going into his debut with the Malachi Black YouTube segments or the Twitter
Mhm.
videos he was posting. Not everyone knows. Like, not everyone knows that storyline behind the House of Black emergence of Buddy Matthews.
And I don't think it really was impactful for people who weren't familiar with his work. And to your point, it just kind of felt like a footnote, like, oh, and he's here. It didn't like really have any lead up, especially considering how much detail like Brody has put into the House of Black's lore. And I know that he's talked about it at length about how he's written books and everyone has like their own kind of like road in kind of like an RPG game. So to kind of just shoehorn it into, like you said, didn't really do it for me. And I mean, his look, his character, his persona in the ring is just like we already kind of have that. I'm a cocky asshole guy in AEW, and I don't see like what he's going to add to the House of Black specifically. But once again, shut up and
He'll
entertain
be
me, I guess. Yeah,
he'll be the one guy without a tattoo
and
compared to the
insane
rest.
abs apparently. So
Yeah, exactly. You know what? If he finds, that's the thing. Now it's up to Buddy Matthews to like find that one thing that differentiates himself from not only the rest of the group that he just joined, but also from the rest of the roster as a
Mhm.
trio of House of Black. That's what I'm interested in seeing. And also, I want to see a woman join House of Black. I'm still waiting.
I think Julia's gonna do it, but you never know.
I think they've been sitting on Julia because they're waiting for something to happen with what's the team with Varsity Blondes. I think
Mm.
something. I know that Brian Pillman Jr. had recently moved from Florida back to Cincinnati. He
Mhm.
cited a whole bunch of like factors that triggered his move, and I think that some of the backstage stuff for him was starting to get him,
Mhm.
off TV and maybe shifting to focusing on his own mental health or whatever it is. I'm not going to speak for it, but maybe that's why we haven't seen the Varsity Blondes yet.
Yeah, and Brian is super, super young, and I know that he's done like some things online that people have, called him out for. And I think that for anyone to kind of be like, you know what, I'm gonna move back home and kind of just readjust myself and like prioritize my health, my mental health, my physical health, and just kind of be with my family, that's awesome. So if we have to wait an extra couple of months or whatever for evil Julia or whatever in the name of like recovery and proper health, so be it.
Blair Onyx is being brought up in the chat, and she has done a
Ooh,
few
I
shots
love
on,
love Blair Onyx.
so she's done a few shots on Dark, and if they like her,
Mhm.
they can absolutely add her to the group. But they got to make that investment because House of Black is very much one of those teams
Abaddon
that
too.
Abaddon would be. I think that would be interesting. Now, Abaddon has been this like cartoony evil horror character, whereas House of Black has been primarily like this satanic uh images of occult without it being a cartoonish variation on that. So you'd have to change Abaddon's character slightly enough that it makes sense for her to join. And I like the idea. Does
Mhm.
it work though? How do you make it work?
And I do see what you're saying too, because she kind of has more of like a Japanese cartoon horror style, like a manga horror character style.
Yeah, yeah.
So to kind of slap that into this almost like Nordic satanic, like esoteric occult kind of thing that's heavily influenced by the tarot, like behind me. You would definitely need to switch up her look a bit. And I actually have seen her experimenting with different types of makeup, different types of look on TikTok and Instagram lately. And it's totally different. Like she was using pink, she was using white. So that was actually really interesting to see. And I've always liked Abaddon, and I think that she has one of these really interesting contracts at AEW where she's like not one of the main stars, but she works with everyone. She's always training. She's always like getting crazy pops, and she has such a unique character. And I personally would love to see her used more, even if not like for matches, like as part of stories in
Yeah.
AEW.
And right now they've been using her mainly as this like horror film
Yeah, you can't
once a
get past
year
her.
Halloween. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like that we can move past that. And I like the
Yeah.
idea of maybe her becoming a little more, I don't think serious is the word, but someone who is more evil without it being cartoon evil.
Mm-hmm.
More black metal nonsense. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what she needs. I like the idea. That could work. And then kick out Buddy Matthews. No, I'm kidding. Buddy Matthews just has to. We just need something of a story with Buddy
Yeah.
Matthews. That's all.
We'll see what happens.
Speaking of seeing what happens, what do you think of Jericho and Kingston in the ring talking?
I pop hard for Kingston every time. I think, I'm not gonna crap on Jericho's legacy and everything he's done for the sport, but I think that, this is kind of a swan song for Jericho. And I think that, a lot of people are really quick to shit on him and be like, oh, he's washed up and he's a boomer. And all those things might be true, but if you cannot see that Jericho is literally like putting all these guys over one by one before he like retires, like that's kind of how I see it. And I think that Eddie is going to go over Jericho and it's going to be awesome.
I want to see Eddie Kingston win this match.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm not alone in this. I see people in the chat saying that Eddie Kingston saves the feud. I think that both men had a really good, strong promo. And I don't normally compliment Chris Jericho these days.
Mm-hmm.
But lately, he's been playing the right parts and saying the right things that make me reinvest in his character. And that's what I want. I want, like you said, entertain me. And they did that. And for Eddie Kingston, I mean, he's Eddie Kingston. He's never not, the guy.
On one, yeah.
Yeah, and for him, all you got to do is give him that trigger word and he'll go nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't love Jericho doing the whole like talking about making insider baseball references or insider references, talking about, the baby face. What's a baby face? Love that. But I don't need Jericho to make inside references. Other than that, I like the promo. I think this was one thing where they needed to talk people into the feud as a match and not just as a talkie talk. And they did a good job with doing this.
Now, and they both got heat. They both got heat. And I think that regardless of the outcome, I think it will be like a very important match for Eddie Kingston, whether he wins or loses. So you can shit on Jericho all you want, but he's putting over people that really deserve it in a really big way. So that's cool.
Yeah. And we'll see. I mean, does Jericho probably suffers nothing from a loss, whereas Eddie Kingston can easily move up and do more in a win. I would like
exactly,
to see
yeah. And that's what I want to see as well. Same with Santana. Like, let's get the Santana push.
Dude, did you watch Terminus?
No, I watched the first Terminus whenever, I think it was like a month or two ago, and it just wasn't for me. It's like very technical. It's like almost like it's hard to it's like almost like an obsessive level of like technical wrestling that like I'm just not a huge fan of. I like more of like the dinner theater kind of aspect of professional wrestling. So
I understand that. So
yeah,
I watched a little bit of Terminus. I was streaming, but I then came back, watched a bit. So Santana had a main event match with Jonathan Gresham, and it was for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship, which, like you were just talking, it's like a very technical championship.
Yeah.
It's all
I like the pure rules. I do like the pure rules of our
it's not for everyone at the end of the day. Yeah. Like some people want a more technical based wrestling, sports style wrestling, and that's what Terminus offers. So I felt bad for Santana and for everyone in the ring because there was a botched finish that like was really, really bad. And the referee, I felt bad for the referee most of all because he was a perfectly good referee. The match was doing real good. And then they got to the finish and there was just a big old botch from the referee. People were upset. And it was on Gresham and on Santana to just calm people down. Not that people were like jumping into the ring. No, that's a LA, that's a GCW thing.
That's at a different event. We'll talk about later.
We'll talk about later. But for this guy, I just felt bad. Like he was doing his job. He made a mistake. Unfortunately, it was the finish. But he'll be back. I know that referee will be back. But the point I was trying to make was Santana is on a tear in singles competition.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for him to bring that to AEW as well. Yeah. Ortiz too.
Yeah.
I see it with more Santana.
What did you think of the Death Triangle taking the defeat over the Kings of the Black Throne with Evil Alex Abrahantes?
Dude, I loved Evil Abrahantes. That was so ridiculous. You want to talk about dinner theater? The Penta Oscuro theme music is not great, but the one thing that Mikey Ruckus does is fixes things that people aren't necessarily into. So I'm sure he'll come up with something or clean it up, whatever it is. But like the introduction of Penta Oscuro was cool. I liked him popping up behind the what's it called? The
Tombstone?
tombstone.
Yeah.
Yes. And then it was over the top. It was fun. They got the win though, didn't they?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that was all just to set up the Buddy Matthews debut. And I think everything was just kind of, it was so convoluted towards the end with Buddy Matthews making his debut and the which side is he on, the lights off, that I feel like the
People
match
didn't
didn't
realize that they
matter.
won. Like, people did
Yeah.
not realize that they won. Also, I was like, guys, they won. Like, stop booing.
And I don't think people really understood or noticed that. So
Mhm.
as a result, the match was fine, but it got lost in the shuffle because of literally everything else that happened on Dynamite, plus the debut of Buddy Matthews, plus the whose side is he on, plus the lights on, lights off. It was just overbooked nonsense, which they took our gimmick, or maybe we took their gimmick. Who knows?
I loved it though. Like, I am a huge sucker for just like garbage theatrics, especially if it's like anything horror or goth related. So I love the intro. I've heard amazing things about this side of Penta, like this like heel. Like, I mean, he's always kind of a heel, but this obscura character is like full heel.
Yeah.
I got really into Lucha Underground. Like just when things went into lockdown about 2 years ago. But I never like really finished season 3 where I got to see Sammy Guevara and Thunder and like everyone. So I want to go back because I've been really liking lucha style fights lately, and this week had a lot of it. And one term that I really like is the magic tasso, like the magic touch. And the way that you do a crossbody usually is like you do it like literally across, but the way in lucha that they do it is like a downwards motion, and it's brutal, brutal.
I'm learning. I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Very cool.
yeah.
Who didn't have the magic touch was the Bunny and Jade Cargill.
Really?
A match was okay. That there was a botch 3, which wasn't fun, didn't look good. Again, people don't notice it unless they go out of the way, but like there was a 3 count at one point. Jade was down and forgot to get her arm up, but otherwise, like, again, overbooked nonsense with the match. You had Sterling out there, you had Matt Hardy out there, they had to eject both of them, and then eventually you have the win for Jade Cargill, and then Tai Conchi comes out, and then the Bunny gets involved, and it's just, it was a lot. Again, they just packed a lot going into that match, and then coming out of it as well, that nothing felt impactful. It just happened.
Well, the one line that Jade said that I just thought was so funny because it's so true is like, who else? Like, who else? And this Tai Conti match at Revolution, like, you know me, I love a women's match. I love to see, women represented more in the sport, period. But I don't care about this. And I wish that they would match Jade up with someone maybe from another promotion or someone who's like beefier and like her size, who isn't Nyla, to do something interesting, because we all know that Tay's going to lose. And as of now, we only have 2 women's matches on Revolution. And I hope that the buy-in is also a women's match. And, it also kind of speaks to the women's division in AEW. A lot of them aren't ready for TV right now, especially not for PPV.
That buy-in match, it almost definitely will be a women's match. And I think the only 2 that I would want to run are either that TBS title match, because people will see Jade and be like, holy shit, who is this woman? Like, I'm interested. And then the other thing is you could do Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Martinez, because those 2 would be a fun match that people could get very excited for on a pre-show that, again, influences people who are on the fence to buy the pay-per-view and watch it live. And it could be fun. I'm seeing in the chat Jade versus Jordan Grace. I think that would be fun. The size differential would be really cool, but because Jordan is so built, it will be a really fun matchup. I think that works.
And she just had an awesome match with Cardona too. And like, it was the stipulations were only technology from, I think, the 90s or 2000s could be used. And she wailed on Cardona with a selfie stick. And think about that. Like, it's one thing to get hit by like a chair or, even a VCR, but a selfie stick, that's brutal.
And then didn't she use a keyboard too?
Mm-hmm.
Keyboard warrior Jordan Grace.
Mm-hmm.
The other person that I would put up, if she had more experience, is what's her face? Oh my god, from the NWA, Camille Brickhouse. Camille is another big, solid, strong woman, and she and Jade would tear it up. But the problem is, I think they're both lacking in a bit more experience to have that match together. I'd love to be proven wrong. It's just when I see these two, I don't know how they would match up. I don't know if the experience on both sides would warrant a good match, but they would be fun.
And I even saw, you know, everything is a work and everything is kayfabe too, but I saw Tay Conti on Twitter said like, you know, like you ain't shit, sis, and she's like speaking essentially in like black slang to Jade on Twitter, and she was like, "Are you actually saying sis?" And it's just like, I want to love Tay so much, but she just continues to like make the cringiest moves on social media and like with just like with her character, and I'm just like, you're young and so talented, and I really hope that you don't do this for much longer because it's
Yeah.
so bad.
What are the odds that Ty Conchi ekes this one out and gives Jade her first loss in AEW? You just rip the band-aid off. You don't want to do it.
I don't see that. Like it doesn't make sense. Like so then Tay gets it and then what? Then it gets like ripped off her immediately. Like it just doesn't make sense to me.
I agree. I also want the TBS title to have more of a if the not the ratings, if the rankings, if the rankings matter, I want the TBS title to play into that as well, because that's the one title that I'm not seeing anything matter when it comes to rankings. Ty just
Speaking
came
of
out and said, "Go for it."
exactly, and then like speaking of belt and titles that don't mean anything, then you had Sammy Guevara defeat Andrade, which you know the uh, assisted with Matt Hardy for the win. It went about 12 minutes, and meh. I like Sammy in ring. I think that he has a lot to give, but I think that he's burning like the candle at both ends with all this like crazy flippy shit. And that if he keeps doing that, then I don't know if he has a long-term career in wrestling because he could get seriously hurt. And then everything he does outside of the ring, in terms of promos, in terms of vlogs, in terms of social media, again, is so cringe. And, you know, it's mostly for kids and he's a huge draw and he's a huge sell. But I worry about him because he's doing a lot of risky stuff. He's young and you can screw up your career doing that.
At the same time, you can't really tell him to do anything else because he's young. He's going to do what
Mm-hmm.
he's going to do because it gets him over. People didn't necessarily know Sammy Guevara until he started going absolutely nuts. The
Mm-hmm.
inner circle stuff was what put him on the map because he worked with Jericho. But after that, I mean, now he's having banger matches with guys like Cody. That ladder match was absolutely insane. But are people remembering the match? Are they remembering the spots? Are they remembering the big hits? Are they remembering what is it at the end of the day that are they going to
Yeah.
remember Sammy
I just
for?
worry. I really worry for him and like his safety and his health, like especially and you know, they are young and you can bounce back a lot faster when you're younger, but it catches up with you. And I mean, to go back to the belt, he still has this TNT belt. He's had it for quite a while. There was all this Cody drama. He's gone now. So now that kind of changes everything. I'm like, where do you see the TNT belt going in the next like couple of months?
I don't know. And that's what's upsetting. Like I wanted
Hmm.
Andrade to have a serious shot. If they're gonna do that 6-person tag, right? At Revolution, and they put Isaiah Cassidy and Sammy Guevara on the teams on opposite ends.
Hmm.
So that'll be fine. But again, I don't know for the Matt Hardy stuff, like just I know I'm diverting for a sec and see a mention in the chat. Like Matt Hardy's buying time until Jeff Hardy shows up.
Of
Like when his
course. Yeah.
brother
Yeah.
shows up, that's when they start. Then that's when more tag team stuff might pop up and be fun. But for the TNT Championship, and I know chat's gonna talk about what they expect. I mean, I don't know who could come out and take that title from him. I don't know who's going to be the right guy to do it either. I wanted Scorpio Sky to have a run because he is entertaining as hell. Good matches, great on the microphone. I see Keith Lee in the chat. I see Darby getting it again. I want them not to go back to the same people, though. I want to see some of these newcomers that they bring in. You know who I want to see? This is what I want. I want a Joker or a surprise at the face of the Revolution ladder match. I want it to be Swerve. I want
Mm.
Swerve to come in hot as hell, win that ladder match. He's probably not. It's probably going to be Wardlow. But either way, I want Swerve to take that title from Guevara.
I
That's what
like
I
that.
want.
That'd be good writing, but and you know what? You're saying I don't want it to go back to anyone who's already had it. The only person who I actually would want it to go back to is Miro because I thought Miro
True.
was such a fantastic TNT champ. And I hope he's back soon. I hope his health is okay as well.
Imagine a story where Miro comes back and his first match back is dominating Sammy
Yeah,
Guevara.
that's what I'm saying. I think it would be awesome. Like I am the god. I am back. Like that would be
Yeah.
amazing.
no one can stop me.
Mhm.
He has someone or something in tow, and
He
no,
has a
it's not.
neck brace.
Yeah, he's got a neck tattoo. Actually, that's what he has now. He gets a neck
Cody's neck
tattoo.
tattoo.
Yes, but it's the Bulgarian flag instead of the American flag, and it's the same nightmare tattoo. There you go. And he wins the TBS title or the TNT title, and then the
It
TBS
writes
title.
itself. It writes itself.
It really does. Yeah. So I don't know what to do. People are mentioning Claudio in the chat. So let's talk about that, and then we can divert back to Dynamite and AEW talk. Cesaro is done with WWE, at least for the foreseeable future. Contract expired. Free man to go wherever he wants. What do? Do you pick him up in AEW? Do you let him roam free?
Impact. I would go to Impact if I was him.
I would want to see him there. I want to see him in New
Mhm.
Japan Pro Wrestling. I would love to see
Mhm.
him, since the New Japan Cup was announced and there's like 5,500 guys in that thing, and they've already pulled out 2 because of injury. You replace one with Cesaro, with Claudio Castagnoli. You get that guy, you bring him over, and you put him in that tournament. He doesn't have to win, but he has to go
Let's put him
far
in.
and look
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that
yeah.
would be the right spot.
I think that would be awesome, or Impact. I could see him just doing wonders with the cast of hilarious characters on that roster right now.
I want. Could you imagine Claudio
Black
in
Taurus.
Claudio Black Taurus, but Claudio in Wrestle House?
Oh my god. Make it happen.
For years. I mean, when he had the opportunity to kind of speak freely and promo freely, he was fun. Claudio was, yeah, in WWE. When they gave him the opportunity to just do his own
I've
thing.
never really seen him promo because he's always doing like the Cesaro thing, right? So
Right. Exactly. But when he was in the bar, he was able to show a little bit more of
yeah.
his own personality, and I liked that. Unfortunately, they didn't give him a lot to do in WWE, and as a result, he never had the personality for a quote unquote WWE superstar. Now is his opportunity, if he wants to go back to WWE. Now is his opportunity to go and be the guy who has a personality, who goes over the top, or not, or just sells himself differently. We know he's an excellent wrestler. Let's do something more with that.
And he
Let's
already
do
has like a big brand, a big name behind him he can do a lot with, right? So
Yeah, and people are saying like Cesaro would be great in Impact. He'd be great in all these some of these New Japan Cup matches. He could go to AEW. He could, but I don't know if he would. I
There's
think
too
he'd
many
get lost
people
in the shuffle.
there. I think, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think he'd get lost. I think Impact would be fantastic for him. And yeah, maybe even touring Japan. He pops up in DDT. He pops up at Choco Pro for all I know. Who knows? It would be awesome.
Him and Choco Pro would be just a fascinating
Wonderful.
experience.
There was actually a
Yes.
really good match, May, with Chris Brooks last weekend, and she actually injured herself getting thrown into a door. So she is going to take a couple of weeks off now.
Oh, that sucks. I didn't know that. This is Mace Saruga, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That sucks.
And they do it in like a old dentist's office, so the ceilings aren't too high. And Chris Brooks is very tall, and they were doing a spot where he essentially like put her head like through the ceiling and then put her head through a door. So she's feeling a little rough.
Yeah.
And after now that I've been in like a ring once, like I know what it feels like.
Do we want to talk about it?
Yeah, like we don't have a format on this show. Let's just talk.
Yeah,
wrestling stuff.
So you sent me. So I was going to a birthday party. A friend of mine.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So a mutual friend of ours was also going to be there, and as I was on my way there, you sent me some footage of your training, and you had started wrestling training. Tell me, what the hell? How was it? And give me everything. I want to know it all.
Well, first of all, like shout out to Superkicked for hosting these like workshops. They're going to start doing drop-in classes for anyone who's like not as committal with it. If you're in Toronto, of course. But yeah, I've wanted to just try it just to see what these people put their bodies through. Like you don't really understand until you do it, right? So Superkicked is a pretty big deal in Toronto. It's like a super indie promotion. It's a very rowdy kind of like GCW but Canadian vibe. They do death matches. They do all kinds of stuff. AEW people have showed up before. WWE people have showed up before. Yada yada. So it was crazy to go to their studio, which is in like a warehouse space in Liberty Village, which is mostly used for like film shoots and like corporate stuff. And it's no frills in there. You know, they have the ring, which is very well built. The ropes are very new. And then just some like powerlifting equipment. And they also, of course, have a balcony, which they can use to jump off of for spots.
I've been up to that top floor. That stairs,
we all have.
The stairs are awful. Have they fixed them yet?
I think so, but
Okay.
it's still really sketchy in there, but
Oh
like in
no.
a good way. And they have like
Anyway,
power bars like nailed to the ceiling and stuff, like for I guess audio equipment or whatever.
amazing.
And like if you saw these guys, you would think that they were like super rough, kind of like punk guys, but they're such sweethearts and like they're so patient. And one thing that was so wild to me about it is like how dizzy you get because like the surface area of the mat, like it's always moving, like no matter what you're doing. So when you're doing a tiger roll, when you're learning how to tumble, even when you're running the ropes back and forth, like you're kind of feel like you're at sea. So I got very dizzy, and the ropes, like they're thick, like you can put like your whole like wrist around it, so it's like pretty thick and so unforgiving. Like I'm not going to take my shirt off right now, but if you go on my Twitter, you can see some of the bruises that the ropes left on my back. I mean, I went pretty hard because I like to like make a point, but total new appreciation for like the sport, the entertainment, whatever you want to call it. Even just getting in and out of the ring and pulling yourself in, or holding the ropes and pulling yourself up onto the top ropes is so exhausting. And all you see when you're in the ring doing these moves is the ground and the ropes. And you have to get up and you have to like be aware of everything. Plus you have to put on a performance. Plus you have to like maybe do a promo before. So if you talk shit on wrestling, I highly suggest go to your local school, try one class, and you will probably shut your mouth.
I think a lot of people get so hyper focused on what they can see in the ring. It's like watching sports in that, oh, how did the ref not see that? Well, guess what? Your vantage point is not, center ice
Everywhere.
level 200 with a million cameras to pick
Yeah.
from. You are one set of eyes looking objectively at what you're seeing, and everything has, everything's about your viewpoint. I think it's really neat. Like I saw some of the stuff you were doing. I saw they had you doing some rolls. They had you obviously running the ropes a little bit. Was
We
there
learned how to
anything?
lock up and clinch
Yeah.
too, and we did a headlock as well. And I mean, one thing that I now realize is like wrestling is a lot like dance. If your partner is really shitty at dancing, like you're not going to perform a good dance. So I
Yeah.
mean, you have to work out your routine. You have to work out every movement down to like where your footing is going. Because if I'm going to put you in a chokehold and you put your foot in the wrong position, then your head's going to go to the wrong part of my body. It's going to look awful and it's going to feel awful, right? So we learned a whole sequence where we lock up, get put in a headlock, get pushed onto the rope, do a push off, and then we run across the rope trying to trip each other. And that is about like 15 to 20 moves actually when you break it down. Like it's as like a dance routine almost. And when you have to kind of do that over and over again with your partner and you're sweating and you're exhausting and you're like dizzy, like it's crazy. And then I thought like Kenny Omega has been fighting with what like vertigo for how long? Like
Months and months of that for
I
him.
will never talk smack on a match. Like even the worst, most rinky-dink, like garbage match, like these people are nuts for doing it, and I'm excited to keep hurting myself and hopefully get in some local matches.
I think it's nuts, like in the best possible way. I'm excited for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is really neat that you're getting the experience, and I love that you're gonna, at least for now, speak openly about it, because that's something
Mm-hmm.
that I think a lot of wrestling fans need to hear. Like wrestling is not just what you see on TV. The
No.
training that goes into it is years and years of experience and
Some of
years
the
and years of
people in the
practice.
class, like they had to stop. Like they were like, "Can I like just like take a break?" Because
Yeah.
and I'm in good shape. Like I go to the gym pretty much every day. Like and I'm not trying to like show off or anything, but I'm saying like even if you are in good shape, it is still insanely difficult. So if you're not someone who is maybe working out as much, but wants to try it, do it. There were people there who were there was one guy who was deaf and he killed it. There was one guy who was
Cool.
like super like overweight. He killed it. There was like all different types of shapes, sizes, and different types of people there. And at the end of the day, it's really about you just going for it. And that's what's so scary about wrestling is it's just you and the mat and it's all up to you. And I mean, I did a tiger roll and almost snapped my neck. So it can happen to anyone.
I think I'm very excited for when you get comfortable enough to have a match that you and Sean Ross Sapp can have a one-on-one contest, since you're both
The
trained.
dirt sheets will be the dirt sheets. We're going to be a tag team.
Oh my God, please team up. That would be perfect. You and Lillie and Sean's dirt sheet experience. I think I'm all
Just
about
paper
it.
cut people.
Oh, that's the gimmick right there. You come out with with your own dirty sheets and you're like, nah. Anyway, let's move back to Dynamite. Do you want to talk? Let's talk about MJF. Let's talk about that promo. So,
especially from a Jewish perspective.
Yes. So I've very openly told people that I am a Jew. I grew up in the Jewish community, and Lillie as well is a Jewish identifying human. MJF comes out and cuts this promo, some of which we've heard before, right? He talks about, and he told some of the story in MLW where he had a stint before coming to AEW, and in the promo he had talked about how as a kid on Long Island he would have these kids like throwing quarters at him for being a Jew, and he called himself ADD addled. What he called himself? ADD addled
Jew boy.
Jew boy. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the ADD part doesn't exactly speak to me. I don't deal with that in my life, but definitely deal with the Jew boy. And I definitely hear enough stories of anti-Semitism to look at this and say, yeah, this is real. This happens. I don't know what your experiences were growing up as a Jewish kid, but
I was called horrible names that I absolutely cannot repeat on air.
So I was going to say, I've been lucky enough that if it happened to me, I don't remember it. But at the same time, I'm a bigger guy than most, and I don't look stereotypically Jewish, so I never had that problem. But for others, some of the stories I heard is like, yeah, that's relatable. I heard that stuff growing up, and it's crazy to think about. Anti-Semitism still very much exists in and out of wrestling in 2022.
Oh yeah, and I talked to like one of my other friends who's very openly, proudly Jewish, and he was like, I didn't like it because it was like too close to home, and I was like, fair enough, but also I think that MJF is an amazing actor. I mean, he was in the New York Times like acting and performance section, for Christ's sakes. Like he's an incredible actor and manipulator of emotions, and whether or not you liked what he was saying and whether it was too political or a little bit too religious, I think that it comes from an awesome place. And kudos to CM Punk too for taking that heat after that as well. I mean, it's just incredible storytelling.
Yeah, Punk to come out and be like, is this true? Because the story turned from being I was a Jew who was bullied to I became a wrestler because this spoke to me, and Brian and Punk spoke to me, and I wanted to be a wrestler. And then my hero, he denied me that pleasure because he left wrestling and he ignored, my love died because he left. That speaks to a lot of people. There's the story, not the story, but the adage, don't meet your heroes. And now we're kind of playing on that. He's met his hero. He beat his hero. He had to do it in underhanded tactics, but he beat his hero. He's going to match up with his hero in a Dan Dog Collar match. So his hero comes out, and CM Punk is like, dude, is this real? Like, are you serious?
And he's a good actor. Like, I don't know if people know, but CM Punk has been in like some amazing like indie horror movies for the past 5 years. And if you haven't seen them, like that dude can act.
Yeah, and it's absolutely nuts. And I see David in the chat saying, he was at MJF was at a House of Hardcore show, met bikers, and he went to the worst possible biker gang party. And that's a story people can read about, because it's all about how you handle yourself in those situations. I'll tell you that much. Either way, I'm excited for the match. I'll plug it here because I've done it on other places. Dropping this week before the pay-per-view, sometime this week, myself and Jeff Hawkins have a short history of dog collar matches. We're going to talk about the relevant ones, why Piper in Portland is important, why the Greg Valentine Piper match was important, and also other the CM Punk versus Raven, their dog collar match in Ring of Honor. MJF has had 2 dog collar matches. You may not know that, but we'll talk a little bit about those and a little bit about what we're expecting from this kind of dog collar match from CM Punk and MJF. I'll ask you that question. What do you want out of this dog collar match? What do you want to see?
I want to see both of them in pain and work for it. If they're gonna bring out this stipulation, then no network TV, cheesy, funny, good times. I want to see like raw pain on television. I want to see both these boys suffer on television and work for it.
Now, we can go into the other match that was the main event on Dynamite, and that's Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia. We can talk a little bit about that match, but more importantly, as we get back, we'll come back to that match. But we saw Mox and Danielson make their match official, and their whole story has been, I don't work with anyone unless I bleed with them first. So you have a dog collar match where you traditionally have to bleed. You have Mox and Danielson, which is all about blood and bloodshed. You have to make both matches different and exciting for different reasons. How do you do that with two different matches like this? How do you make the blood, the blood or the appearance of blood important in these two matches?
I think both of these matches are technical for a different reason, and I think everyone involved is kind of going to utilize different skills. I think Punk is in it at this point, maybe for the wrong reasons, and I think he just wants to prove Max wrong. So I think he'll do anything he possibly can and essentially act like Dexter or a serial killer to do what he needs to do. Whereas the other match we have going on between Moxley and Danielson kind of comes from a place more of, let's say, I don't know, honor, legacy, and a more kind of like ROH style death match where it will be more about the blood is the afterthought, where they're just beating each other so hard and so technically the blood happens to spew from their bodies. Whereas CM Punk, he doesn't give no Fs right now. He just wants to prove Max wrong, essentially, and put him in his place and make him realize that he's, under him.
Yeah, that works. I like it. I just want to see the blood in Moxley and Danielson be caused by fists and not by weapons.
Me too.
Something like that. It could be as easy as that.
An accident, like.
Yeah. Don't run him into the post. Don't run him into the stairs.
Don't blade.
Listen, if you're gonna blade, you got to get there somehow. But like, don't make it obvious. Make the story be that somebody hit someone so hard that they started to bleed.
But even me, I could work out a spot with someone I'm fighting where I'm like, yo, just smack me in the nose super hard so it bleeds, right? And that will make my nose bleed. And it doesn't
break
really
my nose.
No,
break my nose. It's okay. I can go get it reset tomorrow.
It was funny today at my session this morning, which was not wrestling. I was like, hey, check out this. And I started doing like rolls and my trainer was like, oh my God, stop. Like it's because it sounds so different when you do like when you take a bump on a mat versus like the ring. The ring sounds way cooler, by the way.
I was gonna say, you hear the clunkiness versus the mats on the floor.
Well, one woman that was there was only one other woman, and she was 5'1" or 5'2", and she because she was so petite, it doesn't really make that impact. And even to hit the mat and make that sound, like you have to be really strong.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to hear more of the wrestling training stories as we move forward together in this thing. GCW. Let's talk about our pal Joseph Joey Janela. What the hell, man? How could he do that?
Well, this is the thing is I totally understand it because without that double cross, you wouldn't have the spring break match.
Fair. I'm a big fan of the fact that X-Pac, Sean Waltman makes the save at the pay-per-view, at the Hammerstein pay-per-view, that they made a crossover match to do the Cardona and Myers versus Janela and Sean Waltman match at this past weekend's GCW shows. And then you have the turn, and it makes sense because Janela turns on everybody now that he did it in AEW with Sonny Kiss. He's doing it today.
He's the bad boy.
It this weekend. He's the bad boy. He's not the good boy. He's the bad boy.
Imagine if he was the good boy though, and he came out all prim and proper with a nice colored shirt and a book.
That's the next step. That's when he decides he's done with it, he'll be the good boy. So he super kicks Sean Waltman after Waltman's giving this super not excited. He's super blown up because his match he just wasn't in shape, unfortunately. Waltman's got a lot of work to do. He's also 50, so you can't really fault him. The match 52. Was fun. 52, even better. The match was fine. I think he knows, and I'm not going to belabor the point that he'll get better. So Janela super kicks Waltman after Waltman's talking about possibly retiring, but now they set the match for spring break. It's going to be Janela and Sean Waltman. I'm looking forward to this.
I'm considering flying out, but I'm like, ugh.
It's Dallas. Do you want to go to Dallas in April?
I mean, why not? I went to New Orleans in June, so that was even worse.
I'm trying to go to Orlando in 3 days. We'll see if that happens.
And I was looking at going to see Minoru in Ohio. So
that's right. Suzuki's coming back. You're a big Minoru Suzuki fan. I'm excited to watch him.
Way too big.
You're gonna fly out and do the whole tour with him.
I would if I had the time and money, but probably not.
Yeah, exactly. I think I need to see Janela and Waltman have like just this, not a death match, but
Hmm.
just a fight.
Greaser, just a greasy bar fight.
Yeah, I think that's where
Yeah.
we're gonna go with this, and
Oh,
that's
for
fine
sure.
with me. Similar again, similar to the Sunny Kiss match on Dark. It'll be full of weapons. It'll be full of craziness, and I think a little bit of walk and brawl for Waltman is where the money goes.
Yeah, and I mean, everything else in GCW the past week was crazy. I mean, Blake Christian is still doing Blake Christian stuff. You got Ninja Mac doing spots off a goddamn 20-foot stage.
Shout out to
Um,
Speedball Mike Bailey for kicking him so hard he went off the top.
the crane kick, I
That
died.
crank
And there's
was
some
nuts.
hilarious edits on Emil's Twitter as well, which
Oh, I
is
have to find those. Yes,
oh
uh,
yeah.
dude, Speedball's tearing it up now too. By the way,
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see him do so well wherever he goes in the US, because people have been deprived of his actions
Hmm.
for way too long. But now
Hmm.
that he's back, he's killing it. It's good stuff. What were we just talking about? We're talking about Ninja Mac and Blake Christian. So Blake Christian continues to win. Blake Christian continues to have banger matches, and it feels like he's going to maybe challenge for the GCW World Championship
Yeah.
after spring break, because we found out that challenging Mox at spring break is going to be AJ Gray.
Which
That
is gonna
promo,
be spicy. Holy.
they're gonna go hard.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I want to see that match. Again, they're building a really big spring break match. A really big
Mhm.
spring break card even.
And the way that GCW kind of builds and releases all these lineups, I think is like my favorite because it sucks you in and it keeps you there. It doesn't just like keep dropping like one match after another like a week before like every other promotion. It kind of plays into all these other events that lead up to it. Plus, if you're not going to like the bigger GCW shows, then there's always something in Atlantic City or Jersey or whatever. So I love what they're doing. The audio is awful.
Needs to be fixed.
It's dog
Needs.
shit. I
Yeah.
felt so bad for Denise because she was so awesome on the mic, but like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's one of the things that a lot of independent wrestling companies deal with is that they don't plug their audio into the main feed. And as a result,
Mm,
everything just sounds like it's reverberating through the room and then eventually hitting a microphone that's attached to a camera. And they got to fix that stuff, especially GCW. That's the
yeah.
one company of all the independents out there that needs to fix it if they want to bring themselves to that next level, in my opinion.
Oh, I completely agree. And I mean, like, there's no excuses because like Hammerstein had like crazy production improvements compared. And I'm not saying that like every show needs to have that level of production, but I mean, there's no way that with all their connections between Fight and themselves that they can't find, someone to just operate a soundboard for a couple hours.
And that's the thing. It's
I'll do
literally
it.
it's a soundboard. Yeah, I said this. I used to joke the same way with Impact. Impact has the worst audio
They
out of
never charge their
every.
mics. I'm like, you guys have mic packs dying mid-segment. Like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, it's something that needs to. You need the logistics crew. You need the person
Yeah,
who is about that AV stuff and
yeah.
brings it to the promoter as like the number one problem that they need to fix. And
Mhm.
it needs to be the needs to be on the promoter to make that their priority. Anyway. That's my rant on GCW. I love GCW in a lot of different ways, but that is one thing that I'm just like, please fix the microphone, do a direct line, do something. I know that the reason that they don't have the music going to the PA or going through the main feed is because of copyright. I
Of
understand
course,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But
Japan does that too, but
yeah,
like
but for the love of God, just have your mics wired through your main feed so that we can hear the people talking. And also, sorry, I'm going to go on a rant. When you're doing your commentary, EQ the commentary. Spend 20 minutes before the show opens just with the commentary, guys.
mhm.
Check one, two, yelling, screaming, whatever it is to get the levels, please.
Yeah, like we love you. We just want you to not hurt our ears.
That's it. Tony Deppen did not hurt my ears. Him and Thunder Rosa had a
Oh,
hell of a match, by the way.
he was so banged up by the end of that. Like it was wild. And yeah, like they just both put it all on the line. Like it was pretty much like a dick swinging contest the entire time.
And Thunder Rosa being able to like come back and just beat the shit out of Deppen every time he tries to hit her. I loved it. There was a good story there. Deppen didn't want to hit her, but Deppen
Mhm.
wanted to beat her. And that was
Mhm.
good. I like that. Again, we talk about intergender wrestling and how it works and stuff like that. I think it works. I don't feel comfortable hitting you, but I know I need to beat you. So I have to use moves. I have to drop toe hold you into submission, and that's
It's
how
like
it
when I
works.
fight my man for like the remote control and he tries to get it back or whatever. Like he's not trying to hurt me. He's just trying to prevent me from putting on reality TV trash.
Yeah, exactly. Alex Zane, by the way, in a death match, I see someone mentioning it in the chat. Zane's death match was nuts. He ended
He
up
ended
having
up
to
in
go
the
to the
hospital.
hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Honestly, that how independents handle injuries is a completely different topic for another time, and something that I'm not
Mhm.
super comfortable talking about. Zane ended up going to the hospital. He got stitches. He went through surgery. He's fine.
He had to
But
take glass out of his eye.
did he? I didn't see that.
Mhm.
Oh my god. Well, out
And
of
like
your arm just
I love death matches, but like it was just so reckless. Like the whole time, I was just like, this like what are you trying to prove? Like I love a death match with like Lego and tacks and tables and chairs and barbed wire, but there's a line, and when you have to like pull glass out of your eyeball and like have like bags of blood dropping from your arm, like that's a little much. It's a little much.
It is. And again, I think it's because it's the US, it's up to the wrestler to then go to the hospital and take care of their own problems because they're independent contractors, yada, yada, yada. And whether or not they have the money and the opportunity to go, that's a whole other story that we can't speak to because we're Canadians. But I think most people who take on a death match, they know what's happening. They know what it's going to be. And they get paid more for it, or at least they should be getting paid more for it because
I
most of
hope
them
so,
know.
because like that shit's expensive in the States, man.
Yeah, most people do know to ask for more, but again, we don't know what people are asking for when it comes to that stuff.
Mhm.
Was there anything else from GCW that was super worth talking about?
I mean, the follow-up Joey promo on like the second event where he was just smoking in ring was awesome,
Yes.
but I mean, overall, it was like kind of all over the place. There was no bad matches. I just thought that like as an entire week of wrestling, it was all over the place. There was a lot of good matches, but there was a lot of like, why is this happening moments.
Christian and Speedball, by the way, go out of your way to watch it. Just
Yes,
think about that.
absolutely. I definitely want to rewatch that one and the Ninja Mac too because it's just so crazy.
Yeah, Ninja Mac, and anytime he takes on Jack Cartwheel, it's a kind of a nutso
I would.
experience.
That's one person from GCW who I think would work on AEW is Ninja Mac with Fuego.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good call. I'd love to see
Mhm.
that. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be a lot of fun.
Mhm.
By the way, if you're a wrestling fan, don't go into the ring. Don't throw shit in the ring. Don't try to fight Joey Janela. Don't try to
You will get
fight
your ass
anybody.
kicked. You will
Yes,
get your ass kicked.
pretty simple stuff. Don't get into a fan. Maybe it was a plant. Who knows? Who
Maybe,
knows?
yeah.
But
Yeah.
regardless, if that stuff makes you want to get into the ring and fight somebody, don't do it, man. That's not worth it. It's
Go
not
play a
fun.
video game. Go shoot Nazis in a video game or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
Yeah.
going to do. I'm not going to shoot people in a video game. I'm going to play Mario until my eyes bleed.
Oh, we got to play Mario one day, man. It's on like Donkey Kong.
Dude, I'm telling you, we do it every Thursday on Twitch. We do the Mario Kart stuff, but we also, I'll sit in my bedroom and play Mario Maker. People make some awful levels in that game. Like
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, like boss rushes where you have to fight the same boss over and over again. It's stupid. But anyway, I don't think.
But I
have anything else
digress,
here.
as
Yeah, exactly.
Taz would say. But yeah, that's it, I guess, for this week.
That's it. Next week, I guess we're going to talk about Revolution. That'll be a good time. We'll review the show. I'm sure other stuff will have happened. I don't think there's anything in the WWE world that we need to talk about here. Good, wonderful. I think we did it. Let's get out of here. There are so many shows to watch here on Fightful Overbooked. You know where to find us. It's FightfulOverbooked.com or YouTube.com/Fightful Overbooked content every single day. Lillie, where can the people find you on the internet?
Nowhere. No, you can find me
Good.
at Lillie Z on Twitter. You can find me doing stuff with Fightful and Fightful Overbooked, obviously, and my own website, strangecomforts.com, which just released a new mixtape, so check it out.
Hell yeah. I'm at Joel Pearl, JoelPearl. Find me everywhere. You know where to go. Ladies, gentlemen,
everywhere.
I really am. It's going to upset people someday. I swear to God. Wait until you see what I'm doing in March. Ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.